I've recently sat down with Jenny to talk about how she actually healed herself in 3 weeks after battling 7 years of chronic diseases. She's an author and a speaker, and she's also been featured on PBS for her work. She believes in people embracing bliss as it will allow them to step into the highest version of themselves. Join me for Jenny's story. This is the highway to healing. Jenny, I am thrilled and delighted that you're joining me for this week's episode. And you have been through an incredible journey. You've overcome a lot, and you did it in a short amount of time. And I just want to first of all say thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So you've described part of your journey as healing 7 years of illness in 3 weeks. And I know we have people listening to this broadcast who may be facing their own ailments, whether it's physical or mental, or they find themselves in a big dark cave. I would love for you to walk our listeners through the 7 years. So can you start there at the beginning of that story?
Sure. I started with chronic pain, and in the beginning, you go to doctors, you get tests and a lot of waiting and more diagnoses. And there were 4 diagnoses I wound up with. First, it was chronic mono. So they always found the Epstein-Barr virus in my blood. So usually felt like I had the flu. Then it was fibromyalgia. So, just diffuse body pain, really, mostly settled in my legs. Then it was a genetic blood disorder, factor V Leiden, which they said I was more likely to get a blood clot. I manifested one of those within 3 weeks of them telling me that in my legs. I was in the hospital for 5 days. And then that got me put on a blood thinner. They said for life. And then the last was Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, benign hypermobility, which that was explained to me as like the collagen runs out between your bones. So like when say your ankle is swinging or your leg is swinging, there's nothing to stop it. There's no door stop. So it just swings. And that was probably the most crushing for me because they said I shouldn't dance anymore. Dancing was like my love. And that I would probably wind up in a wheelchair because my pain was mostly settled in my legs.
Oh boy. I can't even begin to imagine with all of those things going on inside of your body. Was there a moment or a day where you felt like that was your dark night of the soul?
There were several of those, I think. Yeah, I mean, being in pain and having young kids, it is really interesting to me how we are not loving to ourselves when we're sick. We beat ourselves up about what we can't do, what we're missing out on, that we're not good enough, we're not a good enough person because we can't do these things that we have in our mind. So those were not happy, healthy thoughts contributing to healing either. I was very down on myself, very sad, because my body wasn't working like I thought it should in my 30s. I wasn't, an 85-year-old woman. I was 35, or it even started before that, and was in a lot of pain. And sometimes it was crawling up and down stairs. Sometimes it was, is it safe to drive my kids anywhere today? Can I make it out of the house? Am I going to pass out in pain? So yeah, those were my daily questions. And it is very challenging when you're in that state of mind to find help. I had one book that said to have a funeral for myself because I was never going to be the same. I thought that was, going to be a book that would help me. It was on resiliency, and support groups weren't always supportive. A lot of times it was people comparing sad stories, what they lost because of their illnesses. So it was really challenging going the traditional medical route and trusting doctors and having one after another just give me kind of that sad look and be like, sorry, there's really nothing we can do. And it really was like up to me at some point to go to homeopath, but that became more of the same, like, okay, here's 30 vitamins that you need to take a day and to feel marginally better. and went to a chiropractor, but that was 3, 4 times a week. And again, to feel marginally better, nothing really helped keep the pain away. Things would take it away for little bits of time. I refused painkillers for a long time because I was like, if I start now, what am I going to be on? I grew up in New York City. I saw a lot of addiction. I always had a fear of addiction. So did not want to get into that. Refused antidepressants. I was like, I'm not depressed. I'm sad because I'm sick. Like, there's a difference. So at some point I did give in to pain pills. I was very cautious with them. I take like a quarter of the dose. And I did meet a woman about that time, a good friend, and she started seeing me as Jenny instead of sick Jenny. Like, a lot of my friends had kind of disappeared because they couldn't do things anymore. And as we become a mom and married and fall into all these roles, we kind of lose ourselves, and becoming sick, that was just another role I was identifying with. I was sick Jenny. So I would take a pain pill to go for a walk with this woman, and was kind of rediscovering, oh, there's other aspects of me again. And I saw the movie The Secret right after that. And it just kind of hit me that, you know what, I'm not focusing on what I'm grateful for. I'm not focusing on what parts of my body are working. I'm not focusing on the gifts that I have. I'm focusing on how sick I am and what the doctors are telling me is going to happen to me. So I was like, okay, other than like the blood thinner appointments, I'm not going to go to any doctors for a little while. I'm just going to really focus my mind on what my mind is saying, what I'm telling myself, where I'm putting my energy, what I'm focusing on. Because in the morning I would wake up and be like, ow, my legs are in so much pain. I didn't sleep. I'm not going to be able to do this. So really started to listen to the self-talk, which was pretty horrendous, and it's pretty sad that when we're down, whether it's, with anxiety or whatever we're struggling with, we really usually tend to beat ourselves up more instead of giving ourselves that love and comfort that we would a child or a friend or any loved one that was hurting. So when I started to become aware of that, I really dove deep into the self-help stuff, the Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Caroline Myss, just listened, watched, read, and anytime I could, just spent, okay, I'll focus my energy on my little finger. My little finger doesn't hurt. There's healthy cells in my body. Okay, I can't run after my kids today, but maybe I can read in bed to them. They love reading in bed with me. I have a comfy bed to lay in. I am provided for with meals. Like, really change my attention, focus my attention on the goodness in my life, and that I was still a good person. I still had something to offer the world. And within 3 weeks, all the pain was gone. I was off of painkillers. It took me about a year to get permission to go off the blood thinner because it took me a little while to want to go back to doctors. But even then, the hematologist gave me his blessing, said, with where you are now in your mental state, it'd be more dangerous for you to be on them than to be off of them. So even he acknowledged my mental state. And when I finally did go back to a doctor, my doctor had switched to an Indian doctor. And the first thing she said to me is, I don't prescribe pain pills easy. Do you meditate? And I was like, all right, this is perfect. This is aligned. So I felt like I attracted that to me by my own changes, because my other doctor was always fighting them. No, I don't want to be on this medication. No, I don't want to go on more medication. So yeah, it was a short journey to health. And then I really just wanted to spread the word because I saw so many other people suffering in the support groups I was in. And how can I help other people recognize that they can heal?
I love that because I believe miracles happen. We need to affirm that miracles happen daily. Wake up in the morning and allow that energy, that profound energy, to meet us where we're at, wherever that is on our pathway. And yes, you did this in 3 weeks and you completely changed your mindset. Is there something that you could give our listeners that are hearing your story and hearing what you did and what you accomplished in, in essence, 21 days or so? Mm-hmm. Where should they start?
It's those little moments. So, no one has the time to be meditating 3 hours a day. It's really those little moments of time. And I found the most powerful moments of time are right before we go to bed. like right as you're laying down and first thing in the morning, just as you're getting up, because our subconscious is kind of tuned in then. And the shower is another beautiful time, so ask yourself, where is your mind, and tell yourself something you're grateful for. Tell yourself something you accomplished that day instead of going over oh, I still didn't do this. And, oh, I don't believe I'm worried about this tomorrow. And what's this person going to say? Like, really get into you. And what are you grateful for? Maybe it is the comfy bed. Maybe it's that you reached out to a friend or made your kids dinner or lunch that day. It could be these, it's seemingly little things, but we do a ton of things every day that warrant gratitude that we don't give ourselves credit for. Giving ourselves credit in the morning, maybe saying something you're going to look forward to, asking yourself how you can bring yourself maybe a little piece of joy that day. Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's just a couple of deep breaths, maybe it's reaching out to a friend that can use a call or some gratitude. There are all kinds of ways that we can just look forward to a little moment in the day. Shower is a perfect time too. Imagine that water washing all the negativity off of you. Usually, I used to be in my head like, I don't even remember how the shower went by. Like, did I wash my hair? I don't even remember. Where am I? Like, just so in my head, grocery list, all these other things. But now the shower is such a recuperate. It's time to recuperate. It's time to regenerate. It's time to really be thankful we have running water, and really just set our intentions for the day. I'm going to try to be happy today. I'm going to find something to be grateful for. I'm going to connect with someone or a being, a pet, someone fuzzy, that brings me love. Like, just setting that intention that we deserve that happiness, because that's where a lot of it comes from too. I find, like, really feeling when I was sick, I felt like I didn't deserve to be happy almost. I was sick, that meant I was less of a human being somehow. I don't know what I was telling myself, but it was not happy, positive messages, that's for sure.
And one of the things that you have spoken to people about is that they need to fall in love with themselves. They need to appreciate where they're at. And I'd love for you to share with our audience your thoughts on self love, self appreciation. Why is that so important?
It's so important because we're usually repeating the stories that someone else has told us. And we're not really taught from a young age to love ourselves. We're taught to be nice to other people, but we're really not taught to love ourselves first. And it's not egotistical. It's not greedy. If we love ourselves first, that's really what we're putting out to the world, that we deserve to be respected and loved. And in healing those past stories, there is such power. I have a lot of clients whose parents were doing the best they can, but maybe not necessarily the best job out there as, ideal parents go. And they were acting from what their parents taught them, but it does take someone very awake and aware to want to break that and to heal from those moments and not place blame, because those people probably were, even if they were doing what you think of was an awful job, they were doing the best they could with what they knew and the resources they had at the time. So trying to forgive the past and move into the present and ask how you can love yourself now. If it was a relationship that was toxic and you're like grieving from all of that, those negative things that were said to you, being loving to yourself, not beating yourself up more, and knowing that you are worthy of a healthy relationship. Just because you had one or two that were dysfunctional doesn't mean the next one can't be wonderful and supportive. So not letting your past dictate your future, knowing that you can heal every part of your life, dysfunctional job, dysfunctional relationship, your health, your happiness. We all deserve that happiness. We all deserve that connection to other people and to our hearts. And it really is in knowing that self-worth that we can start claiming it, and it might be one thing at a time. It might be overwhelming to think of everything at once that you want to change, but just pick one thing. For me, I had to heal physically. When I did heal physically, one of the first things I heard was, look at your marriage. I'm like, no, not ready to go there yet. And, that was okay. At some point I was ready to go there, being loving with yourself. What is the one thing now that's really sticking out to you that you want to work on? And how can you how can you act like your best friend supporting yourself through that change?
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. I think what I heard part of that was change your mind, change your life.
Yes. Yes.
So before we part ways today, is there any like tips or books or tools that you used to change in those 3 weeks, or things that you love now that you feel everyone should know about?
Yeah, one of the first tools that I do give people is the Hawaiian prayer Ho'oponopono. I do love that prayer. It's 4 sentences and it really does help clear our attachments to things. So it's I love you, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you. 4 simple sentences. And if we're saying it, hand on heart, just think about like anything. You could kind of think about anything or just clear your mind and say those sentences over and over again. And it's about like I love you, your soul always loves you. I'm sorry for putting this pressure on you. I'm sorry for all these negative things I say to you over and over again. Please forgive me, thank you. And it really helps alleviate some of that tension and stress and that 3D, like what we're holding on to so tightly, and it shifts energy. So I do love that. And I love gratitude. Gratitude is an amazing tool. And please use gratitude for yourself too, because it really is about you do have beautiful qualities. We all have our gifts, and, whether it's that you like to make people laugh or you love cuddling with animals or you're great with plants, like everyone has these beautiful abilities and qualities. And to really focus on those a little bit every day, or something that you love every day, instead of trying to catch yourself when you get too caught up going down the rabbit hole of the negativity, and just gently bring yourself back, because we need to honor some of those emotions. Okay, I'm out of alignment, but to stay there really doesn't help anything. So really, like, gently bringing ourselves back to the present moment with gratitude, with Ho'oponopono, and just asking ourselves how we can make our life a little easier for ourselves.
If you had to pick one book that changed all of this for you, that journey, because there are people listening that maybe want to read a book that could help to shift where they're at right now, is there one that you think is a must read for everyone?
There are so many. I think in terms of shifting that, the mindfulness, I think Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is a pretty powerful one for the mindfulness part of it. And it really is about that mindfulness, just knowing that we need to listen to ourselves. That brain chatter is constantly going, but is it saying anything that you actually believe, or is it just repeating stuff from the past? So that was a very powerful one for bringing me to the present moment as often as possible. I still get caught up in my head. We could do this work forever, and just kind of laughing ourselves, because we are human. It's okay. We take ourselves way too seriously. But if we know we're on a journey, and all we can do is, self-correct a little bit and adjust and be like, whoa, I learned from that one. I'm not going there again, and try to be gentle with ourselves as we move forward.
Right, because when we're stuck in the past or we're thinking about the future, we're not in the present moment, which usually
Exactly.
results in feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining me for today's episode. I know that you have inspired our listeners, and I'm grateful for your time and your talent.
Thank you so much, Dallisa. I really enjoyed being here with you.
For more information and to learn more about Jenny's work, visit jennymannion.com. Stories like this one are important to tell. It reminds us that even during the darkest times, we can always find light. We can always choose faith over fear. For exclusive content, please join my Spark Plug members only community and apply to be a guest on this show. Find out more at spiritandspark.com.